The Princess's Dilemma and the Unexpected Contender. Princess Zara stood on the balcony of the Celestial Tower, gazing across the capital city of Luminar Prime. The twin suns cast golden light over crystalline spires that reached toward the heavens. Below her, billions of beings from hundreds of species went about their lives, unaware that their empire teetered on the edge of a succession crisis. She was 29 cycles old. In one cycle, if she remained unwed, the Andromedan throne would pass to her cousin Draxon. The ancient laws were absolute. The heir must prove worthy by choosing a consort who could pass the 3 sacred trials. Without a worthy partner, the crown would go to the next in line. Zara touched the silver pendant at her throat, a gift from her late mother. The Empress had designed the trials before her death, intending them to protect her daughter from those who sought only power. But now those same trials had become a cage, trapping Zara in an impossible situation. "Your Highness, the council awaits," said Lyra, her closest advisor and friend since childhood. The feline-like Felixian approached silently, her amber eyes filled with concern. "How many this time, Lyra?" Zara asked without turning. 127 suitors in 6 years. 127 failures. Zara finally turned to face her friend. "Tell me about the latest." Lyra consulted her data pad. The Krillian warlord lasted 2 days in the crystal caverns before the illusions drove him mad. He had conquered 12 star systems, commanded armies of millions, but couldn't face his own fears. And the Zenthari philosopher? 3 weeks attempting to solve the ancient sphere. His mind collapsed trying to process infinite knowledge. They found him speaking in mathematical equations, unable to remember his own name. Zara closed her eyes. Each failure weighed on her conscience. The trials were dangerous, even deadly. Some suitors never recovered their sanity. Others died when their pride pushed them beyond their limits. "Perhaps I should simply refuse any more attempts," Zara said quietly. "Let Draxon have the throne. At least no one else would suffer." "Your Highness, you cannot mean that." Lyra's tail swished with agitation. "Draxon would rule with an iron fist. He believes in expansion through conquest, in subjugating weaker species. Everything your mother built, everything you've worked to maintain, would crumble. Then what choice do I have? No one can pass the trials. My mother designed them too well." "Actually," Lyra said carefully, "there is one more suitor waiting for your approval." Zara laughed bitterly. "Another warrior? Another genius? What makes this one different?" "He is human." The word hung in the air like a strange melody. Zara blinked. "Human? From Earth? The species that only achieved interstellar travel 40 years ago." "Yes, Your Highness. His name is Marcus Chin. He is from one of their colony worlds, Novoterra. He serves as a diplomatic cultural liaison." "A diplomat?" Zara moved closer, intrigued despite herself. "Not a warrior or scientist?" "His credentials are unremarkable by galactic standards. No military honors, no groundbreaking discoveries, no political power. His request simply states that he wishes to attempt the trials." Why would a human with no special abilities think he could succeed where the greatest warriors and minds in the galaxy have failed? Lyra's whiskers twitched in what might have been a smile. "Perhaps we should ask him. Your father has already approved the request." "Father did what?" Zara's voice sharpened. "Why would he allow this?" "The Emperor believes," Lyra said gently, "that you need to see something different. Every suitor has brought weapons or wisdom or power. This human brings only himself." Zara felt something stir in her chest. Not hope exactly, but curiosity. "When does he arrive?" "He is in the palace now, waiting in the hall of first meeting." "Now?" Zara looked down at her formal robes, suddenly self-conscious. "I should prepare proper protocols." "Your Highness, with respect, protocols haven't helped the previous 127 suitors. Perhaps this time, something different is needed." Zara studied her friend's face, then nodded slowly. "Very well. I will see him now." The hall of first meeting was smaller than the grand throne room, designed for more intimate diplomatic encounters. Ancient tapestries depicting the empire's history covered the walls. Zara entered through a side door, with Lyra following at a respectful distance. Marcus Chin stood near the center of the hall, studying a tapestry showing the founding of the Andromedan Empire. He was shorter than most species Zara dealt with, perhaps average height for a human. He wore simple clothing, not armor or ceremonial robes, just a clean uniform that marked him as an Earth Diplomatic Corps member. No weapons, no entourage, no display of wealth or power. When he heard her footsteps, he turned. His eyes were brown, warm, and filled with genuine curiosity rather than calculated ambition. He bowed, a simple gesture of respect, and when he straightened, he did something no suitor had ever done. He smiled at her. Not a charming smile designed to win favor, not a confident smile displaying superiority, but a genuine, slightly nervous smile. "Your Highness," he said in careful Andromedian, his accent strange but understandable. "Thank you for seeing me. I know this is unusual." Zara found herself momentarily at a loss for words. "You are Marcus Chin of Earth. Of Novo Terra originally, but yes, human. I apologize if my presence seems presumptuous. I understand that many great beings have attempted these trials." "Then why are you here?" Zara asked directly. "Humans have no natural advantages. You are not stronger than a Krillian warrior, not smarter than a Zenthari philosopher, not more powerful than a Draconian prince. What makes you think you can succeed?" Marcus met her eyes steadily. "I don't think I'm better than anyone who came before me, Your Highness. I've read the accounts of every trial attempt in the public records. Do you want to know what I noticed? Please enlighten me." Every suitor tried to conquer the trials. They brought strength to overcome the crystal caverns, intelligence to defeat the ancient sphere, and charm to win your favor. They treated the trials as obstacles to be destroyed or puzzles to be solved. And you would do differently? I believe the trials aren't meant to be conquered at all. Your mother designed them, and from everything I've learned about her, she valued understanding over domination. I think the trials are asking a different question than everyone assumes. Zara felt her heart beat faster. What question? Not how strong are you, or how smart are you, but who are you when faced with the truth about yourself? The word struck Zara like a physical blow. In 6 years, through 127 attempts, no one had come close to understanding this. The trials tested character, not capability. Her mother had tried to ensure Zara would find someone who valued truth over power. "You may attempt the trials," Zara heard herself say. The words came out before she fully processed them. "When do you wish to begin?" "Tomorrow, if that is acceptable. I would like one day to rest and prepare mentally." "You don't wish to train? Study?" "Most suitors spend weeks preparing." Marcus shook his head. "I've spent the last year preparing, Your Highness. I've meditated, reflected on who I am and what I fear. The trials will show whether that preparation was enough." "And if you fail?" "If the caverns break your mind or the sphere overwhelms you, then I fail honestly as myself. That seems better than succeeding as someone I'm not." Zara studied him carefully, extending her empathic sense. Her species could read emotions like humans read facial expressions. What she felt from Marcus was remarkable in its simplicity. Nervousness, yes, but also genuine excitement, curiosity about her and her world, and underneath it all, a calm acceptance of whatever might come. No ambition for power. No hunger for the throne. No calculation about political advantage. Just honest interest in her as a person. "Tell me something, Marcus Chin," Zara said. "Why did you really come here? And I want the truth." Marcus took a deep breath. 3 years ago you visited Novo Terra on a diplomatic mission. There was a plasma storm and you stayed an extra week. During that time, you visited a children's hospital. Do you remember? Zara frowned, searching her memory. Vaguely. I visit many hospitals. You spent 4 hours with a girl named May. She was dying from stellar radiation exposure. You sat with her, held her hand, told her stories about the Empire. You made her last days bearable. I remember her, Zara said softly. The memory came back clearly now. A small girl with brave eyes and a failing body. May was my niece, Marcus continued, his voice thick with emotion. She talked about you every day until she died. She said you were the kindest person she'd ever met, that you made her feel important even though she was just one sick child on one small colony world. Tears stung Zara's eyes. I'm sorry for your loss. Don't be sorry. Be proud. You gave her something precious in her final days. And you showed me something I'd never really understood before. What was that? That real leadership isn't about power over others. It's about making every person feel seen and valued. After May died, I researched you. I learned about the succession crisis, about the impossible trials, about how you've refused to marry for political convenience because you believe in genuine connection. Marcus took a step closer. I came here because I believe in what you represent, Your Highness. I came because when I read about a princess who would rather give up her throne than compromise her values, I thought, that's someone worth knowing. I'm not here for power or position. I'm here because 3 years ago you showed kindness to a dying child, and that told me everything I needed to know about who you really are. Zara felt tears spill down her cheeks. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No suitor had ever acknowledged that she was more than her crown. "The trials begin tomorrow at dawn," she said, her voice steady despite her tears. "The crystal caverns of doubt will test you first. Be ready. I will be, Your Highness." As Marcus bowed and left the hall, Lyra approached her friend. "Well?" "He's different," Zara whispered. "Lyra, he actually sees me. Not the crown, not the empire, not the political advantage. He sees me. Is that enough to pass the trials? I don't know. But for the first time in 6 years, I feel something I thought I'd lost." "What's that?" "Hope." That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She stood on her balcony, watching the stars, thinking about a human who had traveled across the galaxy not for power, but because he believed in kindness. Tomorrow, Marcus would enter the crystal caverns, where illusions would assault his mind with his deepest fears and doubts. Most suitors lasted hours before breaking. The strongest had lasted days. What chance did an ordinary human have? But Marcus wasn't trying to be strong. He was trying to be honest. Perhaps, Zara thought as the twin suns began to rise, that was exactly what the trials had been waiting for all along. Trials of truth and the choice of hearts. The crystal caverns of doubt stretched beneath the palace like a labyrinth carved from living nightmares. The entrance was a simple archway, but beyond it lay tunnels that twisted through dimensions of fear and illusion. The crystals lining the walls didn't just reflect light, they reflected the deepest anxieties of anyone who entered. Marcus stood at the entrance as the first sun rose over Luminar Prime. He wore lightweight clothing and carried only a small pack with water and basic supplies. No weapons, no protective gear, nothing that previous suitors had relied upon. Princess Zara watched from the observation chamber above, where holographic displays showed multiple angles of the caverns. Lyra stood beside her, along with Emperor Tavon himself and several members of the High Council. Cousin Draxon lurked in the back, his reptilian features twisted in a barely concealed smirk. "The human enters the crystal caverns of doubt," the automated system announced. "Trial begins now." Marcus took a deep breath and stepped through the archway. The entrance sealed behind him with a crystalline shimmer. For the first few minutes, nothing happened. Marcus walked calmly through corridors of gleaming blue crystal, his footsteps echoing softly. He touched the walls occasionally, studying the patterns of light that danced within them. "Is he not seeing the illusions?" one council member asked. "The caverns are analyzing him," Lyra explained. "They learn what each person fears most before manifesting those fears." Then the illusions began. The first appeared as a figure emerging from the crystal walls, a young girl with kind eyes and a failing body. May Marcus's niece. She looked at him with disappointment. "You couldn't save me, Uncle Marcus," the illusion said. "You were too weak, too powerless. Now you think you can win a princess? You're fooling yourself." In the observation chamber, Zara tensed. Most suitors either fled from their fears or attacked the illusions. Both responses fed the cavern's power, making the nightmare stronger. Marcus did neither. He sat down on the crystal floor, facing the illusion of his niece. "You're right," he said quietly. "I couldn't save you. I wanted to, more than anything in the universe, but I didn't have that power. I'm not a miracle worker or a hero." The illusion flickered, seeming confused. "I miss you every day," Marcus continued, his voice steady despite the tears in his eyes. "And yes, sometimes I feel powerless. Sometimes I wonder if I'm enough for anything important. But you know what? You never made me feel that way. Even when you were dying, you told me that being there, holding your hand, that mattered. You said presence was a kind of power too." The illusion of May smiled, and for a moment, it looked genuinely warm rather than cruel. Then it faded into crystal light. "Remarkable," Emperor Tavon murmured. He acknowledged the fear instead of fighting it. More illusions came. Marcus saw himself failing at the trials, saw the galaxy mocking humanity as weak and insignificant, saw Zara rejecting him with disgust. Each time he responded with the same quiet honesty. "Yes, I might fail. That's a real possibility. Yes, humans are physically weaker than most species. We've always known that. Yes, she might not choose me. That's her right." The caverns had been designed to break people who fought their fears or fled from them. But Marcus treated each illusion like a truth to be acknowledged rather than an enemy to be defeated. The crystals began to pulse with softer light, their energy confused. By the end of the first day, Marcus had progressed deeper than anyone in recent memory. He made camp in a small alcove, ate a simple meal and talked to himself, a habit that the observers found endearing. Day 1 complete. No broken bones, no psychological breakdown. I call that a win. The caverns are interesting though. They're not malicious. They're just honest. They show you what you're afraid of because fear is real. Fighting reality never works. You have to accept it and move forward anyway. Zara found herself smiling. He's teaching the caverns philosophy. Or they're teaching him, Lyra suggested. Look at the crystal patterns. They're responding to him differently than to anyone before. The second day brought deeper fears. Marcus encountered an illusion of Zara herself, cold and dismissive. You're nothing special, human. Just another suitor who thinks he understands me. You'll fail like all the rest. Marcus stood and faced the illusion calmly. Maybe. But I'm not here because I think I'm special. I'm here because I saw kindness in you and I believe that kindness deserves to be honored. If I fail, at least I tried to honor something worth honoring. The illusion wavered and transformed, becoming something else, a mirror showing Marcus his own reflection. But the reflection spoke with doubt. What if you're fooling yourself? What if you're just another ambitious man chasing power and telling himself it's about love? This question made Marcus pause. He sat down, staring at his reflection for a long time. In the observation chamber, Draxon leaned forward. Now he breaks. This is the question that shatters them all, doubt about their own motives. But Marcus didn't break. After several minutes of silence, he spoke. I've asked myself that question every day for a year. Am I fooling myself? Maybe partly. Humans are good at self-deception. But here's what I know for certain. When I think about Princess Zara, I don't imagine sitting on a throne or commanding fleets. I imagine conversations. I imagine learning about her world and sharing mine. I imagine making her laugh. If that's ambition, it's the smallest, most personal ambition in the galaxy. He stood up, facing his reflection directly. And you know what? Even if I am partly fooling myself, at least I'm trying to be honest about it. That's all anyone can do. Try to see themselves clearly and keep trying even when it's hard. The reflection smiled and faded. By the third day, the caverns had changed their approach entirely. Instead of showing fears, they began showing Marcus beautiful illusions, temptations. He saw himself as emperor, commanding respect across the galaxy. He saw himself with Zara, but in a fantasy where she adored him without question, where he never had to work for her affection or respect. Marcus walked through these illusions without stopping. These aren't real either, he said to the empty air. Real relationships require effort. Real respect is earned. I'm not interested in fantasies where everything is easy. I'm interested in reality where things are hard but genuine. On the fourth day, the caverns fell completely silent. No more illusions, no more tests. Just Marcus walking through beautiful crystal corridors, occasionally talking to himself about Earth, about his family, about the books he'd read and the places he'd seen. Is it over? A council member asked. No, Zara said softly, understanding something profound. The caverns are listening to him. He's not treating them as an enemy or an obstacle. He's treating them as a companion. He's sharing his life with them. On the morning of the fifth day, Marcus reached the heart of the caverns, a massive chamber where crystal formations created impossible geometric patterns. In the center stood a single pedestal with a glowing orb. Previous suitors had been instructed to take the orb to complete the trial. Most never reached this far. Those who did found that touching the orb triggered one final devastating illusion designed to break their minds completely. Marcus approached the pedestal slowly. He studied the orb for a long moment, then did something that stunned every observer. He didn't take it. Instead, he sat down in front of the pedestal and spoke to the caverns themselves. I understand now. This isn't about taking something or conquering something. This is about being willing to face yourself completely, your fears, your doubts, your selfishness, your capacity for self-deception, and still choosing to move forward with honesty. The orb isn't the prize. The journey here was the prize. The crystals throughout the entire cavern system began to glow with brilliant light. The orb on the pedestal lifted into the air and drifted toward Marcus, settling gently into his hands without him reaching for it. Trial of the crystal caverns complete, the automated system announced. Time, 5 days, 4 hours. Method, unprecedented. The caverns have accepted the challenger. Marcus emerged from the entrance carrying the orb, blinking in the bright sunlight. Medical staff rushed forward, but he waved them off with a tired smile. I'm fine. Just need some water and maybe a week of sleep. Princess Zara was there, having rushed from the observation chamber. She stared at him with something like awe. How? She asked. 5 days. The Krillian warlord, the strongest warrior in 3 sectors, lasted 2 days. How did you survive? Marcus handed her the orb. I didn't try to survive, Your Highness. I just tried to be honest. Turns out the caverns appreciate honesty more than strength. You spoke to your fears like they were friends. Because they are, in a way. Fear tells us what we care about. If I didn't care about failing, about not being enough, about disappointing people, I wouldn't be afraid. The caverns helped me understand that. Zara found herself without words. This human had done the impossible not through power but through radical acceptance of his own humanity. Rest for 3 days, she said. Then you face the ancient sphere of knowledge. Can't wait, Marcus said with genuine enthusiasm despite his exhaustion. 3 days later, Marcus stood before the ancient sphere in the Hall of Infinite Wisdom. The sphere was a massive crystalline construct that floated in the center of the chamber, rotating slowly. Inside it, lights moved in patterns that suggested thoughts, calculations, infinite streams of data. The Zenthri philosopher had spent 3 weeks trying to download its knowledge, to comprehend its patterns. His mind had shattered under the weight of infinite information. Lyra briefed Marcus before he entered. The sphere contains the accumulated knowledge of 10,000 civilizations. It adapts to whoever approaches it, presenting information in ways designed to overwhelm their cognitive capacity. The Zenthri tried to learn everything. His brain couldn't process it. So I shouldn't try to learn everything? No one can learn everything. That's the point. The sphere tests wisdom, not intelligence. Knowing what not to pursue is as important as knowing what to seek. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. Okay. I think I understand. He entered the hall alone. The sphere sensed his presence and began to glow brighter. Streams of data appeared in the air around it. Mathematical equations, historical records, scientific principles, philosophical treatises, all rotating in a dizzying display. Most challengers immediately tried to engage with the information, to prove their intelligence by solving problems or absorbing knowledge. Their minds inevitably overloaded. Marcus did something different. He sat down on the floor, crossed his legs, and simply looked at the sphere without trying to read or understand the data flowing around it. Hello, he said. You're beautiful. Like a library that contains all stories, all questions, all answers. That must be lonely. In the observation chamber, Emperor Tavon leaned forward. Is he talking to it? The sphere is semi-sentient, Lyra said. But no one has ever tried to communicate with it as a being rather than a tool. The data stream slowed slightly as if the sphere was paying attention. I can't learn everything you know, Marcus continued. I don't have enough lifetime or brain capacity for even a fraction of it. And that's okay. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know enough to be kind, to help where I can, to understand people different from me. The sphere pulsed with softer light. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Not because I want to pass a trial, but because I'm genuinely curious. In all the knowledge you contain, across all those civilizations and histories, what's the most important thing you've learned about beings like me? The data stream stopped moving. For a moment, everything was still. Then a single stream of light descended from the sphere and touched Marcus's forehead gently. Images flooded his mind, but not overwhelming ones. He saw civilizations rising and falling, species meeting and learning from each other, conflicts resolved through understanding, love shared across impossible differences. He saw the common threads that connected all sentient life. The desire to be understood, the need for connection, the courage to be vulnerable. When the connection ended, Marcus had tears streaming down his face. Thank you, he whispered. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. The sphere glowed with warm golden light and projected a single phrase in the air. Wisdom is knowing that connection matters more than conquest. You understand. Trial complete. The hall doors opened. Marcus walked out, still crying, still overwhelmed by what he'd witnessed. Zara was waiting. She'd never seen anyone emerge from the sphere looking like this, not broken or mad, but deeply moved. What did it show you? She asked. Everything that matters, Marcus said. Your Highness, the sphere isn't a test of how much you can learn. It's a test of whether you understand that knowledge without wisdom is just data. It showed me that across all civilizations, all species, the ones who thrived were the ones who valued understanding each other over dominating each other. He looked at her with shining eyes. Your mother designed that trial, didn't she? She wanted to ensure you'd find someone who understood that wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing what matters. Zara felt her own eyes fill with tears. She did. She believed that knowledge should serve connection, not replace it. She was right. 2 trials completed in ways no one had anticipated. The court buzzed with speculation. Cousin Draxon's confident smirk had vanished, replaced by barely concealed anger. The human was actually succeeding. Now came the final trial, the trial of spirit. Unlike the previous two trials, this one had no location, no specific challenge. It required only that Zara spend time with Marcus and determine whether she could trust him, whether genuine affection existed between them. For the next week, Zara and Marcus walked through the palace gardens, ate meals together, and talked about everything and nothing. He told her about Earth, about oceans and mountains, and the peculiar human love for dogs. She told him about growing up royal, about the pressure of expectations, about her mother's wisdom and her father's kindness. They discussed philosophy, laughed at jokes that didn't translate well between species, and sat in comfortable silence watching the twin suns set. Marcus never tried to impress her. He never boasted or performed. He simply was himself, curious, kind, occasionally awkward, deeply thoughtful. On the fifth day, Zara asked him the question that had been burning in her mind. Why aren't you afraid of me? Every suitor before you either feared my power or wanted it. You seem to see neither. Marcus considered this carefully. I respect your position, Your Highness. I understand the responsibility you carry. But when I look at you, I don't see an empire or a throne. I see someone who spent 4 hours holding a dying child's hand because she believed every person deserves dignity. I see someone who designed impossible trials not to protect a crown, but to protect herself from being treated as an object. How could I be afraid of someone like that? You see too much, Zara said softly. I see what you show. You're remarkably honest, Your Highness. You could wear masks, play political games, but you don't. You're exactly who you appear to be. That's rare and precious. Zara realized something that made her heart ache with joy and fear. She was falling in love with him. On the seventh day, cousin Draxon made his move. He appeared during a council session with fabricated evidence that Marcus was a spy, that his entire quest was an Earth conspiracy to infiltrate the Andromedan Empire. The council erupted in debate. Some believed Draxon immediately. Others demanded investigation. Emperor Tavon looked weary, tired of political machinations. Marcus stood calmly in the center of the chamber as accusations flew. Do you deny these charges? Draxon demanded triumphantly. No, Marcus said simply. The chamber fell silent. What? Zara said, her voice sharp with shock. Marcus turned to her. I don't deny that Earth would benefit from closer ties with your empire. I don't deny that my government hoped I might succeed where others failed. I don't deny that if I marry you, Earth's position in galactic politics would improve dramatically. Draxon smiled viciously. You see? He admits his treachery. But, Marcus continued, ignoring Draxon, none of that is why I'm here. Yes, those things are true. They're benefits that would exist regardless of my motives. But I didn't come here for Earth's benefit. I came here because a princess showed kindness to a dying child, and that kindness revealed a person worth knowing. Everything else is just context. He looked directly at Zara. I could lie and say politics never crossed my mind. But that would be dishonest, and we've built something on honesty. So yes, Earth benefits if I succeed. But I would be here even if they didn't. I'm here for you, not for them. Zara felt her empathic sense open fully, reading every nuance of his emotions. She felt his sincerity, his genuine affection for her, his acceptance that she might reject him, and his peace with that possibility. She also felt something else. His awareness that this moment was crucial, that telling the truth might cost him everything, and his decision to tell it anyway because honesty mattered more than winning. The trial of spirit is complete, Zara announced, her voice ringing through the chamber. I have made my decision. The court held its breath. Marcus Chin of Earth, you have passed all 3 sacred trials. Not through strength or intellect or deception, but through honesty, wisdom, and genuine connection. My mother designed these trials to find someone who would see me as a person rather than a prize. You are that person. She descended from her seat and stood before him. I choose you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're honest. Not because you'll make Earth powerful, but because you make me feel seen. I choose you because in a galaxy of beings trying to conquer or impress, you simply tried to understand. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. Your Highness, Zara, she said softly. If we're to be partners, you should call me Zara. Zara, he repeated, testing the name. I promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of this choice. You already are. Cousin Draxon protested loudly, demanding investigations and claiming the trials were corrupted. But Emperor Tavon silenced him with a gesture. The law is clear, the Emperor said. My daughter has chosen a consort who passed all 3 trials. The succession is secured. Marcus Chin of Earth, You will be formally recognized as Prince Consort in a ceremony 1 month from today. The court erupted in a mixture of celebration and shock. A human had done the impossible. That night, Zara and Marcus stood on her balcony, looking out over Luminar Prime. The twin suns had set, and the city glowed with countless lights. "Are you afraid?" Zara asked. "You're about to become one of the most powerful people in the galaxy. That's a significant change from being a diplomatic liaison." Marcus laughed. "Terrified. But I've learned that fear just means you care about something. And I care about this. About you. About doing right by your empire and your people. Our empire now. Our people. That's going to take some getting used to." They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Then Zara asked, "What did the sphere show you?" "Really? You said it showed you everything that matters, but what did that mean?" Marcus turned to face her. "It showed me 10,000 civilizations and their stories. The ones that survived were the ones that learned to see beyond differences, to value understanding over conquest. It showed me that love, genuine connection between beings, is the most powerful force in the universe. More powerful than weapons or technology or political alliances." He took her hand carefully, respectfully. "It showed me that what we're building here, you and I, matters more than either of us individually. Because when two people from different worlds choose to see each other truly, they create a bridge. And bridges change everything." Zara squeezed his hand. "My mother would have liked you. I wish I could have met her. In a way you did. The trials were her legacy. By passing them as you did, by understanding their true purpose, you honored everything she believed. Then I'm grateful to her. For creating these trials. For raising you. For believing that somewhere in the galaxy, there was someone who would see beyond power and politics to the person you are." They kissed then, as the stars wheeled overhead and two civilizations took their first step toward a future built on understanding rather than conquest. In the weeks that followed, Marcus and Zara's partnership became legendary. They traveled throughout the Andromedan Empire, visiting worlds that had never seen a human before. Marcus approached each culture with curiosity and respect, asking questions, sharing stories, building connections. Earth's relationship with the greater galaxy transformed. Humanity was no longer seen as weak or insignificant. They were seen as the species that produced someone wise enough to pass the sacred trials through honesty rather than power. Other species began to reconsider their assumptions about strength and worth. If a human could succeed where the greatest warriors and minds had failed, perhaps true power lay not in domination but in connection. Cousin Draxon's influence waned as the Empire prospered under Zara's continued leadership. He eventually withdrew to a remote system, bitter but powerless. And Princess Zara, now Empress in all but formal title, ruled with a wisdom that honored her mother's memory. Beside her stood Marcus, not as a conqueror or a political tool, but as a partner who had proven that the greatest strength was the courage to be honestly, vulnerably, genuinely yourself. The trials had found their purpose. The Empire had found its future. And two people from worlds apart had found each other. All because a human understood what others had missed, that being seen matters more than being powerful, that honesty outlasts deception, and that the greatest victories come not from conquering others, but from truly understanding them.